Welcome on all, my name is Tawess and today we are going to painting a vapor eagle. The technique we're using today? Layering. What is layering? Well, it's layers, like an onion, but paint. In this case at least. Anyway, basically we put on a base coat and then we take the same color as the base coat and we add a little bit of what's going to be our top coat to that. In this case, red. You can use whatever color you want. And then just apply a series of thin layers, one on top of each other, just adding more and more of that top color. Now, I started out in this case with about a 1-9 or 2-8 mix, but it depends a lot on what color you're using. Some colors, like yellow, have a lot less oomph in them and you need a lot more of them. In this case we're using red, which has a lot of oomph in it. You don't need much. And for each successive layer, but each successive layer we're going to add more and more of the red. And this is going to create a smooth, creamy, delicate move from dark shadows up to bright highlights. Important if you want a smooth, creamy model. Also, a good technique for things that have a lot of flat spaces. It's a good technique for Space Marines actually, because they have a lot of flat spaces. Technically it's curved spaces, but anyway, it's not a lot of detail. Mechs, also generally speaking, a lot of flat or curved spaces. Wonderful technique. So yeah, you don't have to be all that careful in the beginning. You can be a bit roughshod, as long as you don't cover every single inch of it. Try to leave the deepest recesses in the core color, because that is how you're going to get the illusion of depth. And then you just go over and over again. You can do this as many times as you like. I mean, you don't have to. 3 layers is technically good enough. You can do 10. All depends on how much time you want to put into it. And maybe we have to talk about this with time management when it comes to this hobby, because you don't want this hobby to be work. No hobby should be work, unless you actually want to work with your hobby, but that's an entirely different chapter, and I'm not qualified to speak about that. I have chosen to not turn my hobby into work, beyond what I'm doing here. And speaking of what I'm doing here, we have a little bit of a celebration today. I broke 400 subscribers, and as I said when I broke 300, I know by standards of YouTube that is still nothing, but for me personally it's a big thing. I thank you all who come here whenever I release a video and watch the videos, comment, ask questions. It warms an old man's heart to see that. Now, next goal, 500. I think it's like 500 we start access to community features, right? I don't know, I haven't looked. We're still far off that. Maybe this time next year. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, as you can see here now, we are slowly building up to a more red feeling. Now, I went slow with this because I wanted a more worn look. Something that's been through a lot. Perhaps haven't been cleaned recently. Has a bit of grime to it. It's sort of aged look. You could do the same technique and use clear, sharp colors. And that way you would have to work a lot more with white and black. And try to balance things that way instead. It's a bit more difficult. I like this warm and slightly vintage look. You see, it's always good to have an excuse when you're lazy. I mean, no, completely intentional. I did do this intentionally. I was not lazy. It's a aesthetic choice. Anyway, what I'm doing now is basically slathering this thing with some Nuln Oil because, well, for all intents and purposes, I wanted a bit more contrast into it. This again, I could have used a red wash. I wanted it to be more reddish. I could have used a... Technically, I could use a green wash too if I wanted it to be a bit more weird. But I was not in a weird mood today. I was in a... It looks kind of good mood. So yeah, nothing fancy here. Just slather it all over the Mac and then try to wipe up any excessive pooling. Because we're not going so much for tinting the panels this time. It's just going to enhance the dark areas. A dark brown wash would have worked fine in this case too. Experiment a bit. Go wild. Worst case scenario, just strip the model and start over again. Don't be afraid. Failure is part of learning. We don't like to talk about that, but failure is part of learning. We can't learn if we don't fail. Learning without failure is just acceptance of knowledge. And that's no fun, is it? So yeah, go wild, try things out. Don't be afraid. I mean, you could be a little bit afraid, but don't let the fear control you. So yeah, setting this aside to dry. And we're gonna come back doing the same thing we did before. I mistimed it. Damn it. Now, almost. I almost got it. As you can see now, we add a bit more red to the paint, making sure that we start to get the highlights. This is around where I decided to stop adding to the panels as such and start just painting along the edges instead, brightening up them, making the contrast between the panel and the center of the panel more obvious. Again, this is a stage you could do several times over. You can also do this and go back and blend things a bit more, or you could choose to just continue working on the edges, getting it almost Games Workshop-esque panel line. And I mean, edge highlight, I mean not panel line, edge highlight. Because God me though, this is something that I don't like with Games Workshop, is how they edge highlight things to oblivion. Would be cool for neon stuff, but for just like average thing, I don't like it. So it's a thing. You can do it if you want. There's nothing wrong with it. Just I don't think they do it a bit too much. So yeah, basically just going in now, carefully picking up the sharp edges of the panels and the areas of mech where light should catch, in my mind. Again, this, you could have it lit from below. That is a really cool effect, by the way. And especially if you're doing dioramas, it could be good to consider having a mech lit from below, because most light sources will be at head height or lower for a mech. So yeah, just going through carefully picking up things. Again, don't panic if you do a mistake, just work with the mistake. Now, as a final touch for this one, I decided to go over it with a pure red, thin down a lot. And this is to both bring the edges and the panels together and filter out a bit of the sharpness, but also bring more vibrance and pop into the highlight on the edges. This one is steps. Again, you can skip if you don't want to, or you can spend as much time on this as you like. This is where the creaminess comes in. The more time you spend on blending, which this in essence is in essence blending, the better things look. And I mean, if you want, you could do this on a per panel basis. This technique works on a per panel basis if you really really want to go in there and get nitty gritty. I'm not a nitty gritty person. I lose patience way before that. But in essence, this is pure red, diluted with about 1:1 water, a bit more, making it very fluid, very runny, very moist. And then just paint it over the areas, making sure to not let it pool particularly much. Because I say, we don't want to take away these dark shadows. The dark shadows are nice as they are, but we want to bring the pop back into it. Now, it's starting to look good. Again, I could have spent more time, built up more red if I wanted to, but I felt this was pretty good. Of course, there's not a mech of mine if we don't put some silver onto it. We paint the weapons, we paint the jump jets, we paint the face mask, because I don't know what. I was like, it looks good in silver. I mean, it's a thing, isn't it? I mean, actually it's a thing. I don't know if it's a thing. Might not be a thing. I don't know. Silver at least. Good silver. Again, diluted, have it nice and flowy. Paint over things. Not much to argue about. I will also be going to the joints, adding a bit of silver to those, making sure that they look good. Because this is a fairly plain mix. You can always add a bit of bedazzling. I'm going to wrap this up soon. And we're going to wrap this up on this case with some nice panel liner. And as you've seen, I've been uploading spinnies, I call them, my little spinnies. And it's basically the turntable videos on their own with some info about the mech. And I'm going to upload all my painted mechs to this. So I have a backlog of 2 shelves full of mech. So it's going to take some time, a good proper while. And the idea is going forward, then all mechs will end up on these shorts with the spinnies, because it's nice to have them there. And yeah, the brush had broken, by the way. So try to be observant of your tools, because I had to cut off a bit of the brush because it was not doing right. It was misbehaving a lot. Anyway, so yeah, pretty much what we're gonna do going forward is painting mechs. And now it's Christmas, so I'm gonna put a few more spinnies up, and I'll go up on during the holidays. And once the holidays are over, we're gonna see what we do. And hopefully the Kickstarter will start shipping out January, February sometime, because I'm missing it and I kind of want it, and there's a lot of things there. But if we get bored, we still have the Highlander box, we have the Kellhounds box. I'm supposed to wrap up the Great Death Legion box. There's a lot of things to do. And I have a pile of mechs, just random mechs sitting around. There's not going to be any depth of content that way. But, you know, I always say, you know, there's a new Kill Team box releasing. It's like Striking Scorpions and Scouts. It looks like a budget box. Nothing new, just old shit. But yeah, over to the spinny, and until next time, stay safe, be kind, and as always, do play fair. Have a nice holiday. Bye.